Okay, so when an avoidant starts pulling away, most anxious people, what they're going to do is they're going to lose their mind. They're going to go into panic mode. They're going to text more, ask what's wrong, try to close that gap immediately, doing whatever they can to bring that person back. But a secure person, a truly, completely secure person at the core, what they will do is they will handle it completely differently. And it's not because they don't care. It's not because they're playing games and playing hard to get. It's because they fundamentally see the situation differently from what an anxiously attached person would see. So if you want to know how secure people actually show up when someone starts pulling away and being cold, and why it works while everything that you've been doing hasn't, stay with me. I'm going to break down the exact differences for you. So here's the main thing that I need you to understand. Anxious people and secure people are operating from a completely different baseline and nervous system when someone pulls away. An anxious person, they will see distance as a crisis, right? Their entire body is going to go into full panic mode. The gap between them and the other person feels almost very unbearable, like physically uncomfortable. And so their entire focus of this anxious person becomes closing that gap as fast and as efficiently as possible to get them back, to fix it, to figure out what went wrong, to do everything it takes to make them come closer and be close to them again. Now, a secure person sees distance a little bit more, I guess you could say, objectively. They see distance as data, as information. Now, a secure person is not immune to feelings like discomfort and anxiety and fear. They are still human, right? They are not comfortable with it. They do not love it, but they are not in crisis mode. They can actually sit with the discomfort without their entire system going into haywire. So instead of immediately trying to close the gap, they can actually, even with the feeling of maybe a discomfort or anxiety, they can actually step back and assess what's actually happening here. And this is the key here, because anxious people are so focused on the short term. Like, how do I get this person to respond right now? How do I get them to be close to me right now? How can I make them stop pulling away? How do I fix this immediately? They're in survival mode. But secure people are focused on the long term, especially when they are still dating this person and they are being shown that this pattern of pulling away is a pattern. It's not a one-time occurrence. They are asking themselves, is this person actually capable of showing up consistently? Do I want to be in a relationship where I have to constantly manage someone's distance and hot and cold? Is this pattern something that I am willing to deal with in the long term? So let's also quickly talk about what anxious people do when an avoidant pulls away. Because if you're watching this, you have probably done some version of this. So you probably start reaching out more, you're texting more, you're trying to check it, or you have the urge to text more, and maybe you stop yourself because you're like, I don't want to look too desperate and clingy. You're wanting to check in more, you're trying to figure out what happened. You're analyzing everything. What did I say? What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? How can I adjust my energy so they will come back to me? You're basically trying to close the distance by any means necessary. And you also start making yourself more available. You clear your schedule in case they want to hang out on Sunday. You are always free, always ready, always willing to accommodate whatever they need. Because you don't know when they're going to show up. And when they do show up, in the rare moments, you want to be free for them. In your mind, if you just show them how much you care, how much you love them, how hard you are working to be with them, if you just prove you are there for them and you are so loyal to them, they're going to come back and they're going to pick you and choose you. And also, you probably cannot tolerate ambiguity. English joy. You need to know right now where you stand. The uncertainty kills you because you have no control over it and you need control. So you might ask for a reassurance, or you might have very strong urges to ask for a reassurance. You might have the talk and try to push for more clarity, because not knowing makes you feel worse. It feels unbearable. And paradoxically, when you do all this, you're actually making the avoidant pull away even more, because to them, your energy feels suffocating, feels overwhelming. There's no space for them to breathe. It feels like pressure. It confirms their fears that if they get close, they will lose their freedom, they will lose their independence, they will lose their space, because you will always be in their face. Wow, that rhymed. So they distance even more just to protect themselves. And the more they pull away, the more you chase, and the cycle keeps going. You're tolerating behavior that doesn't actually align with what you want and doesn't feel good, because you're so focused on closing that gap that you have forgotten to ask yourself, what is this even about? What do I want out of this relationship? What do I need in this relationship? What are my needs and what are my standards? Secure people, let's talk about them. They handle this completely differently. First, they don't assume it's about them. They don't take it so personally. Because when you are going into crisis mode as an anxious person, part of it is because it feels so personal. It feels like a personal attack on you. Do they not like me anymore? Do they not love me anymore? Do I not matter to them? Am I not valuable? For a secure person, when someone pulls away, they don't spiral into what did I do wrong? They understand that people pull away for different kinds of reasons, and most of the reasons have nothing to do with them actually, and everything to do with the person pulling away. So instead of panicking, the secure person will give the avoidant space, and it's not because of a strategy or playing a game, but because they genuinely respect that sometimes people need to process their own stuff and to deal with their own stuff. They're not trying to force a connection when somebody clearly needs distance. This is the key difference. They are not sitting around waiting indefinitely. That's a big one. They are living their life on blast continuously, growing themselves in ways that are not holding them back because of someone else's shortcoming. And they are not clearing out their schedule, putting the world on hold. They are not obsessively checking their phones. They continue doing their thing because their sense of stability is not completely derived from someone else picking them and choosing them and giving them validation and someone's attention or a label. This is huge. Secure people can tolerate uncertainty without spiraling. Like, yeah, it's uncomfortable. Not knowing is uncomfortable. When has it ever been super comfortable? It is uncomfortable when things are uncertain, but they can sit in that discomfort without it consuming them. They don't need immediate answers. It doesn't feel like life or death if they don't know and if they sit in the gray. And they don't need that constant reassurance to feel okay. Now, secure people also communicate directly, but also without pressure, without projection. If the distance continues and it's bothering them, they might say something like, hey, I've noticed you've been distant lately. Is everything okay? But they're not asking from that place of panic and anxiety, right? They're genuinely checking in. And if that person says they need space, the secure person is like, okay, cool, take your time. I'll be here when you need me. But, and this is the important part, secure people do not play the long-term game with avoidants who consistently show up inconsistently. That's a big one. Secure people, genuinely secure people, do not play the long-term game with avoidants who cannot show up consistently. If someone keeps pulling away over and over again, if the pattern continues, if it becomes clear that this person cannot maintain closeness without constantly retreating and isolating and essentially harming the other person, the secure person does not stick around trying to fix this person. They don't convince themselves that if they were just patient and understanding or valuable enough, the avoidant would change. They recognize that this isn't the relationship that they want and they walk away, even if it's uncomfortable, even if it's hard. Not out of anger, not out of resentment, not to punish the other person, but because they know their own worth. They know what kind of relationship they want to be in, and they know what kind of relationship they need to actually feel fulfilled and not constantly bending over backwards. They are not willing to spend years tolerating inconsistency, hoping that someone will eventually be ready for them. So ironically, the secure person's way of approaching this actually works a lot better than the anxious person, because firstly, it takes the pressure off of the avoidant person. When you are not chasing, when you are not demanding closeness and demanding immediate answers, the avoidant doesn't feel so trapped. Sometimes when you give genuine space without resentment, without panic, they actually come back on their own because they realize that they miss you and they do need you in their life. But also, and this is important, secure people don't measure success by whether the avoidant comes back or not. They measure success by whether they maintained their own emotional center and stayed true to what they need, their standards, their own worth. Because here's the thing, an anxious person loses themselves in the process of trying to close the gap. Let me say that again. The anxious person loses themselves in the process of trying to close the gap with the avoidant. They abandon their own needs. They abandon their own standards. They tolerate behavior that actually deeply hurts them. They make themselves smaller to make the person more comfortable. And even if they succeed in getting the avoidant person to come back, they have trained that person that inconsistency is actually acceptable and they will tolerate it. Now, the secure person stays grounded in themselves. They don't get pulled into the avoidance world. They don't stop operating from the avoidance terms and conditions. They maintain their boundaries, their sense of self, their sense of standards. And if the avoidant cannot meet them there, they're okay with that being the end of that connection. No hate involved. And honestly, that type of energy makes avoidance realize what they're losing. Not the chasing, not the bending over backwards, not the constant availability, not even the loyalty. The energy of someone who knows their worth and isn't willing to compromise on what they need. That is the type of energy that sometimes avoidance will shift up on and realize, okay, this person is actually someone I really want to keep in my life. So if you're sitting here realizing that you've been operating like an anxious person, here is how you are going to start shifting for a more secure baseline. First, you need to practice sitting with discomfort. When they pull away, when you feel that panic rising up within your chest, I know how that feels because I used to be anxious. Do not immediately act on it. Sit with that. Sit with yourself. Feel the anxiety without trying to fix it right away and figure out how to close a gap with them. Your body needs to learn that distance does not immediately equal crisis and a total rejection of your self-worth, especially when you have not developed your own self-worth and you're still letting other people decide what your value is. Secondly, stay busy with your own life. This isn't a game of strategy. This is genuinely about not abandoning yourself, not abandoning your vision for yourself and your life. Keep your plans, keep your friendships, keep your hobbies, keep your family times, your work life, your career building. Do not put your life on pause, waiting for someone to commit to you, waiting for someone to suddenly switch up on you and realize you're the one. You've got better stuff than that to do, to wait on, okay? Third, I want you to ask yourself the long-term question, not how do I get them back and how do I do this, blah, 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 but ask yourself, is this person capable of showing up the way I need long term? Because if the answer is no, or I don't know, maybe we'll see. If it's iffy answer, you need to be honest with yourself about whether this is worth your energy. Because a secure person also values their energy and time. They are not going to waste their time and energy on someone who doesn't choose them because they have self-esteem. They value their energy. Now, lastly, you need to be comfortable with walking away. Not as a threat, not as a manipulation, not as a cold detachment strategy, but as a genuine boundary. And if someone cannot be consistent, if they keep pulling away, if they keep showing you consistently that they will be inconsistent with you, they will be hot and cold with you, they will never have an answer and be ready for you, if that pattern keeps repeating and it's not a one or two off occurrence, you have to be willing to say, this isn't working for me, and leave. That is what secure people do. They don't wait around hoping and fantasizing that someone would change, and they assess the situation clearly and make decisions based on what they actually see, not on what they hope will happen. Let me know how you found this video. I hope you found it helpful. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you learned something new, and I will catch you guys in the next video.